Talks and discussions. We have reached this important moment of the INSURE conference. I was asked to present the speakers of today, of this table. The keynote speaker, Professor Manuela Veloso and Professor Alexandre Palma. We are very enthusiastic for this moment. During the next hour, we'll have the opportunity to listen to Professor Manuela Veloso that will give us a talk entitled Artificial Intelligence and Sustainability, Challenges and Opportunities, that will be followed by a chat or a conversation between Professor Alexandre Palma and Professor Manuela Veloso. I'll start by a brief presentation of Professor Veloso. Professor Manuela Veloso is head of JP Morgan Chase AI Research and Herbert A. Simon University, Professor Emerita at Carnegie Mellon University, where she was previously faculty in the Computer Science Department and head of the Machine Learning Department. A pure academic. Her recent interests are in AI, artificial intelligence, symbiotic human-robots autonomy, continuous learning systems, and AI in finance. Professor Manuela is past president of the Association for Advancement of Artificial Intelligence and co-founder and past president of the RoboCup Federation. In her career, she received numerous awards and honors, including the National Science Foundation Career Award, Helen Newell Medal of Excellence in Research, Radcliffe Fellow, Einstein Chair Professor of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and ACM Sigart Autonomous Agents Research Awards. Professor Manuel is a fellow of several associations entitled to this topic, such as Association of Advanced Artificial Intelligence, American Association for Advancements of Science, Association for Computing Machinery, and Institute of Electric Electronics Engineering. She was elected in 2022 to the National Academy of Engineering for her contributions to artificial intelligence and its applications in robotics and the financial service industry. I guess you're the first woman having this, this election. Her career is immensely rich and diverse. I must mention as well that Professor Manuela Veloso was awarded by the title of Doctor Honoris Causa by Católica University in 2020. She advised close to 50 PhD students that are today in academia and in the market, in the several companies. She started 5 years ago a position at JP Morgan, an R&D or a research department, and today she has about 120 researchers working with Manuela on AI or related topics. In Manuela Veloso, we can find leading academic, a woman with enormous curiosity, always at the forefront of scientific thoughts, with a rare ability to inspire those around her, colleagues, students, and researchers. Thanks a lot for coming. Thanks a lot for being with us at the INSURE conference in Porto. The floor is yours. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Manuela Veloso. Now I'll just briefly present Professor Alexandre Palma. He's a professor of Católica University from theology. He has a doctor in dogmatic theology from Rome, from Universidade Gregoriana, vice director and coordinator of international relations and a member of Scientific Council and Faculty of Theology, director and researcher of Center of Research in Theology, Religious Studies of this university, editorial, also a member of editorial of a board in International Católica Journal. He teaches systematic theology, especially Christology, and Ministry of God. And now the floor is yours, because the talk is between you and Professor Manuela. I'll give you.
Well, good afternoon to you all. So let me just start by saying how glad I am to be here with you this afternoon, and obviously honored to share this dialogue with you. Thank you for Católica here at Porto to inviting me, and obviously it was a huge pleasure to get to know Professora Manuela Veloso and to get to listen to her great talk, as we all just had the fortune to listen now. So I was wondering, so I'm kind of literally the elephant in the room, kind of literally. Since as was just said, I come from the theology department, so what has a theologian to do with all these issues regarding sustainability or even AI? So what am I doing here? Well, first of all, if I have the time, perhaps later on I will try to kind of provoke Professor Veloso with a kind of more of a theological issue, but okay, let's. It depends on the time we'll have, and obviously in other subjects. But well, the first thing I think, the first really important thing is curiosity, I think, and for all of us who are or in academia or in corporate environments. So what might our fuel is the kind of this passion for knowledge, and with it comes curiosity. I think it's kind of the fuel for the future. So in a way, so this is what I try to answer myself to the starting question: what am I doing here? So, well, to Professor Veloso, let me just say I'll thank you. How thankful I am, and I think we all are, for two things in your previous talk. First was the positive approach to the issue of AI. So kind of, and obviously coming from someone from within the community, this positive approach, this is one thing. In my dialogue, I will try to introduce some more darker aspects of AI anyway. So, but you will answer obviously in a straightforward way, I'm sure. So this is one, a very positive approach to AI. That's the first, and secondly, the practical approach to AI. So considering the audience, so the way you try to translate how can AI impact what we are doing right now, not just sitting on the sofa waiting for you who are developing these tools to come with a better solution, but trying to embrace it right away in a way in small or great things we are doing. How can we benefit from what is already available to the majority of us? So these two items I would underline. So the first, the positive approach to AI. Second, the practical approach to AI. So, but as we were talking before this session, and as you also mentioned, perhaps the majority of us are a bit curious on your path from academic work, from cutting-edge research in a very education environment with students, in PhDs and so on, in labs. How come this shift, if it is a shift, towards the corporate world and environment? How come that happened, and why did it? Well, why did it make sense for you at this stage to embrace this? Yeah.
So, okay. So let me tell you something. So the positive, so there is something here that we actually should all understand. AI did not fall from the sky. So it was invented by humans. It was invented by people. It was something that somehow our brains embraced. So it's something that's human, one way or another, and then it's up to us to really make good use of it. So I think that we cannot think about ourselves, Herb Simon used to say this, as spectators of the future. We need to see ourselves as actors of the future.
And it's up to us to make good use of the technology, to find what it can help us with, to really be participants of this, because it was our fellow humans that come up with this. It was not really like some kind of aliens that threw AI at us. I mean, it's just available. So that's why I'm positive, because I actually have a big belief that humans are good, and that in principle we can really rely on the goodness of humanity to do something good with this discovery. I do think that the users of this are many, many. And so homework number 3, I think homework number 1 is watch imitation game, number 2, buy a Roomba. Number 3 is to really like spend one day, how do you say, appreciating all these things that we have that we didn't used to have. From Ubers to buying things on Amazon, to use Wikipedia, to watch Netflix and recommending something. So, you know, we are surrounded by AI. We don't even notice. So the other day I was looking at Waze. You know, you all know Waze, Google Maps, doesn't matter. Don't you wonder how come all the maps look the same? Where did this come from? How come we go to Italy, we go to Portugal, we go to Texas, we go to Tokyo, and you still can go to any place? Remember the days in which we could only go to things that we had a map for? You know, we had to buy a map. You'd go to Paris and you buy a map of Paris. Otherwise you are lost there. Or you have directions from a friend of yours. Where is that restaurant? They would say, go down there, we would all get lost. Where is the getting lost? It's gone. So what I'm saying, this is all AI. And you have to spend the whole day, just from morning to the evening, appreciating that you are using this. The problem is that, not the problem, but the challenge is that we are not doing the same in our companies, in our industries, in our work. We continue attached to the procedures we used to have, or the way we do everything manual, or with the way we do everything go and find out, or the way we do generating of reports, or the way we read documents, everything, we still do the same way. And we're expecting what? Some Google or someone to come up and like, you know, AI-ify our work. Because we also did not ask anybody for ways, it just came and we started using it. But for industry and for our work, we have to do more, we have to be more proactive. Because it's going to be, I mean, you need to get together in your institutions and find out, I mean, what things that actually machines could do instead of these humans. And maybe everybody can go home 2 hours earlier every day. So we need to understand that this is available, but as opposed to the other things that we just download apps and we use, that's it, you have to think. You have to think in your own work how to do it. And I tell you, I mean, even I am making an exercise as we speak to use more ChatGPT and his ability to use AI in my daily function, you know? So I think that that's a challenge, is that it's not just going to be one app that will fall on us, but you have to know this. Now, I do think that this new GPT-4 Turbo and these apps, these agents, these new GPTs, will be more usable, maybe, or more helpful in our work than really just the weather.com or the ways or things we can use. For our work, I think that when Microsoft will have, or 360, or will have ChatGPT or AI in everywhere, how many of us would not dream of coming in the morning to your office and have all these emails sorted by importance with replies that we just say, yep, yeah, that's right. I would dream of the day that we don't have to read all these emails. I mean, or for the matter, anything. What if having an AI assistant? And it's not going to be that far. I think we are going to have this come. Or you have to do a presentation. And what about if you ask you go rushing somewhere, and or you go for lunch and say, AI assistant, generate a some kind of draft presentation for me. I only need to show all these results. So we are going to have to change the way we think. And the other day we were in talking, and it's like this. It doesn't mean that the thing is as good as whatever someone would do in your office. Maybe that this person had much more experience, they know much more, they do better. But you know what? It's good to have a draft that someone can actually then edit. We will become, instead of being generators of information, we will become, editors of information. Or we'll become different. But it's like, really, think about this. We don't have maps anymore. We can buy maps, but we trust you these ways. Same thing, reports, reading, it's different. And sometimes, even like just to touch on something like there are documents that show up like the executive orders on AI or something that you need to read. But when you go through this, it's hundreds of pages. Who is going to be able to process hundreds of pages? First of all, it's hard for actually the human mind to go through all of this systematically. How nice it is to just give these hundreds of pages to something that says summarize. Summarize if I want to look at it from the point of view of a developer. Summarize if I want to look at it from the point of view of legal. And the thing does. So what I'm trying to tell you is like this. Homework number 4 or 5, I don't know in which we are. It's really, just step back from your job and think about what can you use differently, given that there are these tools, these things that are available. And as opposed, like I say, as opposed to Waze and Netflix and Amazon and Uber and all of these, you need to make an effort. It's not going to fall the solution right there. Because each company is different, and people are going to make, the technologists are going to make things that can be used eventually, but you still have to think. And I think that the goal is for you to think about this. Set up we also have like these New Year goals here in Portugal? No. In the United States, it's a big thing, making a New Year resolution, like what are you going to do next year? There's this thing about New Year resolutions. So you can have a New Year resolution of by 2024, end of 2024, your manual processes in your company is decreased by 50%. That's it. As a goal, as something. Now, throughout the year, you might check nothing. It's still nothing. But you only have until the end of 2024. I think that's what it is. Say it again? Yeah, to all the institutions. I mean, we do so many things by hand that we don't need to do. And one final thought is like this, and I mentioned this when I was talking, is like this. The amount of information available online is gigantic. There is no hope of us to cover it all. No matter how many people we hire, no matter how big we are going to miss. If this AI thing in the evening is there and does it all, crawls all this information, if you are a scientist, it might find the paper that matters to you. If it's like a doctor, it might find a case similar in the middle of New Zealand that you would never have known. If you are, everybody can just rely on these enormous, all these enormous information, and someone that looks for it, that's not humans.
Okay, yeah. So, thinking.
Also for homilies.
Okay, yeah, but they're rather dull, I think. But so that's another issue. The ones that ChatGPT might produce.
You can challenge. Well, one final thing, because these dull things, ChatGPT may be dull, and of course it does not. Once I was showing a poem that ChatGPT generated to a professor of literature, and she said, "This is all crap. What is this thing? This is not even a poem." It's okay, but you can challenge ChatGPT. Write as if you were Shakespeare. Write as if you were like whatever. And the thing changes. You can say, I don't like this. So these are just one final thing. As opposed to Google, and as opposed to all the things we used before, ChatGPT is chat, has a context. So you can dialogue with this thing, the context is there, and the thing will try to eventually match what you are saying. It just proposes something you don't like, just say. It's like me, explain to a 12-year-old. I mean, I don't get this one. So you can go. So, you know, and you can give up at some point, but there is nothing that, you can keep challenging it. No, okay?
So, since you mentioned Shakespeare, this is one I would like to use or to quote. So you have spoken rather convincingly about the better angels of AI. So the better angels of ourselves through AI. But let me just also bring into consideration the worst spiritist of AI. So, so obviously we can be all a bit mistaken, but one should acknowledge that there's a debate out there, and kind of a struggle between some utopian dreams that we kind of put on the shoulders of AI. But also, I would say some dystopic nightmares. Also, all our fears, we kind of push them also to this thing we don't quite understand. We don't know exactly how it will develop, and the majority of us don't have not at least a minimal level of knowledge to understand exactly what it is, how does it work. So, but to me, as a theologian, and perhaps more concerned with more theoretical issues, I would say that one main question that AI brings into mind, to me at the least, is I would call it anthropological. I will not go into there. So what is to be a human being? So I think because technology is trying to emulate, in a way, human intelligence.
So, Sandra, I hope that we are the only ones with a soul.
No, but
okay. So I don't think that it. I think that we are very different with these machines.
Okay,
That's
okay,
fine.
okay. But anyway, so if we are to be defined as we were for some time, I would agree with you, or that we are zoologicon. We are rational animals. So what sets us apart is our cleverness, is our rationality. So then the machine development kind of leaves us in a crisis mode in the sense. But I think this is not new. So what is to be a human? It isn't just a question that comes with AI. It came all through the ages in each technological evolution. So I'm aware of that. Perhaps there's a different thing here, which is velocity, which is acceleration. So we are this evolution. So evolution grants us not only the possibility to improve our species in a way, but with it, it gave us time to adapt to new situations. And I'm not sure if the velocity of this process is giving us the possibility to evolve, but I'm not sure, and I'm not saying it is not, but I'm not sure it is giving us the time to climb the ladder without falling on our steps. So, but because I don't want to bring this what I call anthropological issue, but I do want to bring, because I can only imagine that some of us are following the discussion. I would say the more political, social, cultural consequences, effects of AI development. So the issue, and let us be clear, and I think I'm absolutely convinced, I'm sure of the enormous good possibilities it brings to our lives in medicine, in governance, in education, in whatever, okay? In arts, whatever. So that's a granted for me, okay? But obviously there are huge discussions regarding, for instance, the issue of alignment in AI development, the issue of regulation, the issues of, what else? Of inequality. It has to do with the data we put on the system. So, how do you see this kind of challenge, this more social, political, economical too? So the inequality means, for instance, perhaps the access to this technology is not equal all across the nations and the peoples and the world. So it means that any inequalities we already have in our social economic system tends to get bigger. Am I mistaken or not? How do you see that?
So this is a very good question, and I completely agree that, you know, of our 7 billion people or 8 billion people in the world, many don't even have access to internet. So it is true that the inequality of now, how many people have access to the technology, or not, it's humongous. However, I still don't see how that specific kind of challenge interferes with us in our job, do things better. So what I'm saying is like this. I think that the social aspect we have to think about it, but it's like poverty, or it's like so many things that we have to handle. So it's not really, cannot stop us. I once learned that what we do day by day is now our own contribution to changing the world. So what we are responsible for doing well, what we can do well, and eventually that's our contribution, because what can we do more? I think it's a challenge. I do want to mention the regulation, and I believe that it's very important to regulate AI one way or another, because it has, in the hands of bad users, it has the possibility of manipulating your opinions, doing all sorts of giving you wrong information, and it is dangerous one way or another when it's in the hand of the bad guys. But many of the technologies were always dangerous in the hands of people that don't use it well. So this is just one more, except that it's very powerful. So there should be regulation for sure. And I am all in favor of regulating, but I believe that regulations for me should be a little bit like driving school. Tests. If the code does not makes too many biases, does not take into account all sorts of principles that we think are good, we don't let the test go. We are surrounded by these types of regulations for food. If you now have a new milk, you cannot just put the new milk for sale at the supermarket. It goes through this process of making sure that the milk doesn't kill you, or it's tested on I don't know what. There is a procedure. There's a procedure for everything before it becomes available for people, which does not block people from coming up with a new milk. It's just that you cannot sell it to people if it doesn't pass all these tests. So what I think in AI has been a problem is that, as your friend tells you, oh, download this app. You can download and there are no tests on whether that app is actually safe for us or is actually well tested. And so that has been the problem, is that food, cars, a lot of other technology, refrigerators, everything that we build passes a test except all the apps that we have. And so in that sense, we have to solve that problem, but it's not a complication of I think that this should just be very simply done with tests. So for example, if someone comes up with a new seat belt for a car, I mean, the people that make the decision might ask how the seat belt is made. But then what they do is really put the seat belt on a dummy. They throw the car against a cement wall, and the dummy is hold or not. And they do millions of tests on that seat belt before they decide, yep, we can put it in the car. So it's not as much understanding how the seat belt was built, but it's testing that it achieves the goals that you want. So I think that we have to have that approach in AI too. I mean, we'll never know what these weights or these nodes on these weights on a transformer or these nodes on some neural net or some kind of heuristics on search or optimization. We'll never know exactly how they work, but we can test. And we can give all these tests, this person with this income, this person in this place of the world, do you give credit or no credit? And you can know what you would like the machine to do, and if the machine doesn't do it, you send it back. I say, no, I'm not going to release that kind of algorithm to make decisions on people guilty or not guilty, or credit or no credit, or sick or not sick. Whatever are big decisions, you need to test. And the problem is that regulations is a lot about putting rules on development, which is fine, but there are not yet a suite of tests. And I would love to have this suite of tests. One day in my next life, I will work on regulation.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we can give the floor to the audience for questions. Yeah. The mic is coming. Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First of all, Dr. Veloso, thank you for being so inspirational and making it so understandable and accessible. I really appreciate that. I have a question for you, but before I ask the question, or I'll ask the question and then I'll make a comment. Sure. The question is, thinking about your everyday life, what has been a great success and a great failure of AI deployed inside JP Morgan? And I think the question on equality, I'm leading an AI company today focused on science and innovation. And what I've seen us be able to do is just transformative, and I think we're just beginning. Everything in delivering amazing nutrition, especially protein to Africa in ways that we otherwise never would have thought of, because we can make connections and take the waste from a beer brewing factory and turn it into amazing nutrition for people who otherwise wouldn't have it. And I can go on and on about examples where AI is transforming science and innovation to really give people access that they never had. I actually think of it as the amazing equalizer, because there are so many black box technologies where certain companies in the world think they're the only ones who have access to it. And all of a sudden with AI, we can provide that to everybody and to really start disrupting. So I think this idea of a revolution, and I think the level of disruption we're going to experience in the industrialized nations and companies is going to like redefine everything. So an exciting moment. Thank you for making it simple and accessible. And I'd love to hear your examples.
So it's a good question. I'm not going to answer, but I am going to wave my hands. But one thing is like this. So all these things I told you about, a lot of these applications of AI are not deployed in the big JP Morgan, you know, we do a lot of there are many use cases of AI, basically using data to be able to make, to guide decisions and so forth. But ultimately, everything still is decided by a human that check marks that everything is right. So there's nothing that does the agent part, whoops, it just goes. Even, for example, we have a major kind of effort on answering emails. We get thousands, 30,000. I mean, Chase has 100 million customers. You know, it's 10 times Portugal just for the Chase, 100 million. So even with 100 million and all the tools we have, there is still email that comes and needs to be answered. And so, and to automate that, it's still the case that the final email generated by the computer is still checked by humans. Eventually, so this is such a regulated industry that it's still hard to just make decisions that are a little bit not known why. We invest at the same time, and hopefully in 5 years it will go through, a lot of things on having the machines explain why they are providing some guidance or some recommendation. And explainability is also an area that we do a lot of research on. But what I'm saying is that things that failed, I think that the hard part always, and this is why I'm saying the standardization of knowledge, has been how can AI help with these millions of different formats? It's because when that's the hardest thing to handle, is because every company sends you like the report in a different format. Everything is different. And then to have to be able to handle all these formats, all these representations is complicated. And of course, the markets themselves is a very complex kind of like machinery. And it's also complex to be fair with respect to all the requests we have from the, from all different areas of the population, the people that have difficulties. And so it's the whole, so I think that the financial industry is a test to handling the world. I mean, health is health. I mean, which is we are machines that get sick and that's it. But the finance is like people work and then have this money, and then we as these financial services need to help people. And I think it's a complex problem. Now, I will use this just to say, why did I go to finance? I mean, I did not have, I was never interested in finance. Maybe I'm still not very interested in finance itself, but it was a chance to live in the real world. So I keep saying, I don't know if I would have gone to tech companies, because Carnegie Mellon was as much a tech environment as any of the others. So I would not have felt that that would have been the big change. But I would have gone to agriculture. I would have gone to a hospital. I would have gone to construction. Those types of the infrastructure of society. I would have gone to government. This infrastructure of society that it doesn't seem that AI or computers have entered as much. So that was this curiosity. And once someone told me like this, the finance industry was not born digital. All the other things were born digital. I mean, the Ubers, the Amazons, the this, the that. But this financial industry was not. So how do you bring computing, AI, representation, learning, machine learning, all to this industry? And that's what drove me to go, this curiosity to see what is this. And I tell you that I'm somehow, even as of today, overwhelmed by the actual scale. It's the problems. These, for me, I think these multiple representations is very hard to see thousands and thousands and thousands of things, all different. And then there is also something that we should all know. I did not, the fraud, the fraud, the money laundering. There's fraud everywhere. So it's so after all, the financial institutions, while serving the clients, they have to make sure they serve from a pure financial point of view, but they are also the filters to make sure that there is no fraud, that your money goes to the right account. There are always people trying to, I mean, it's worse than cybersecurity almost. There are always people trying to disrupt the money. So that's also an area that we could spend a lot of time talking. And I always tell my friends, it was not AI that committed the fraud. It's humans. And it's crazy how much I mean, I don't know. This was the biggest shock for me, was to understand that the finance world also involved protecting from these fraud and money laundering. So that's an area very, yeah.
Thank you so much, Manuela. It's so fascinating. I'm thinking about education.
Yes.
And I want to hear your thoughts as AI evolves.
Yes.
Do you think that we run the risk for our children and, well, the coming generations that will be born with AI?
Yes.
To be dependent on technology to take decisions, or do you think that we will evolve and be more sophisticated in using our logic, our intelligence? Because I also think about when calculators came. Yeah. It was a big revolution. Teachers and schools were crazy. You cannot use calculator. You need to do all the math. And then we just incorporated, and we are using the technology in our favor. So I want, because I'm puzzled in that, to make my own discernment, and I would love to hear your thoughts.
This is exactly like what you say. You just very fast. We have a poster that says "Math teachers against calculators" in the 70s. No calculators. I mean, it's really like they demonstrate no calculators, no calculators. They can say no AI as much as they want, but it will be used. So, you know, it's going to be an adaptation, one way or another, of like trying to invent ways to exercise the brain of children, even if they can go to ChatGPT and ask for an essay on Adolfo Zerich or something, you know, it's fine. So I think we will just keep challenging. Now, one thing that I want to say in terms of education is that we will always send our kids to school. We still teach them the tables of multiplication, even if we have a calculator, because it's we need to exercise the brain with a lot of like skills, you know, memorization, or you know, problem solving, dividing a big problem into parts. Understanding how you go from data to principles. We don't teach the Pythagorean theorem like data. We teach a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we are always trying to have them understand that you go from data to knowledge and so forth. So I think that the essence of education is on exercising the brain. And that's what we need to start thinking. It's not as much, even like memorization is an exercise for the brain. And if they use ChatGPT, hopefully they will, but it's something that it's part of the educational process too. And
it will demand more of the teachers as well to be.
No. Yeah, the teachers also can do much better.
Well,
thank you very much.
Yeah.
The challenge, what is the theological challenge?
I would just mention what could have been my question, because we don't have more time. So as a theologian, I'm fascinated by this black box. And I think, and I'm gonna frame it in a provocative way, this black box works as kind of a primitive form of religion. In a way that AI developers are pretty much focused on two things, on inputs and outputs. But what goes in between, even you, who are an expert on this subject, I don't know exactly how ChatGPT produced those code lines. So,
and I don't want to know also.
And you know that was exactly what primitive religions worked on. It was the algorithm of ancient religions, which was you kind of build a relation with the deity, that's input, and you expect from the deity some effect, that was the output. What went into between was something that it was unavailable to human beings. It was the reason of the deity, and I think that certain forms of religion, obviously based on words, that's not by chance. So kind of challenge this primitive forms, saying that the deity was rationale in itself. So we could have some access to how did the deity worked. And I'm fascinating. That's why I'm fascinated with the idea of black box. It's kind of getting. We are going back thousands of years in our cultural development.
But I just want to say one thing. You are absolutely right. The difference is the following. I don't know how that thing probably works, but I know that there is someone who knows.
Okay, but...
And so it's the same thing. Do we all know how a refrigerator works? Why does it freeze? Why does it scold? So we know there is something in the back, but we all know? No. Do we all know that there's an engineer that knows? Yes. Do we go on an airplane knowing how the airplane works? No. So we are surrounded by black boxes, but the difference, even in AI, is that someone knows. And that's what is different from the black box of like religion, which nobody knows.
Thank you.
No, So thanks a lot. I'd like to thank Professora Manuela and Professor Alexandre Palma. And well, we just finished this table. And it was a real pleasure.
Yes. Just now, just for the closing of the conference, we have 2 prizes. The KPMG Best Paper Presentation Award. So I call João Torres. João Torres from KPMG. And thank you so much for being with us in this award. And shall I call the winner? No. Shall I call the winner? Let me see if the winner is here. Oh, yes, he is. So please, the name is Paulo Alves. No, Natural Sciences. Sara Silva. Sara? See, Bioshoes for All is the name of the paper.
Yes, I would like to thank all of the members of the team because I represent quite a large team over here. We are working on trying to push forward our shoemaking industry, but to do so in a way that it counts for sustainability. And as you can imagine, it's not just the effort of one person. It's one of the brainchilds of Professor Manuela Pintada, who's here on the front row. And unfortunately, my colleagues had to go because they had children too. But I would like to leave a special acknowledgement to Tanya and to Isa for all of the work and for all of the companies that are working with us. Because without them...
Thank you. And now for the MDS Best Paper Presentation Award on Social Sciences, João Vieira is here. And yeah, it's true. Paulo Alves is the winner.
Thank you very much. I'm very humbled of receiving this award. This is a joint work with João and George, and they are actually the brain and the muscle behind the paper. So thank you very much.
And now, just for a final conclusion, the co-leaders of INSURE Hub again. Manuela Pintada, shall I call you, please? João Pinto and António Vasconcelos, please.
I don't know how to say because it was an amazing afternoon. It was great. I think was even better what we expect. And I think it's done because people are amazing. All the companies presenting the case studies. I want to thank Professor Manuela Veloso. Sorry, I was really tired. But that was amazing, this end of the day. I think, and of course, all the questions, all the participants, we are INSURE because people are working with us. So I want to thank all for this opportunity, also joining everyone. And we hope that this is a day that can replicate many years, but especially to engage more and more people because we want to be more sustainable, not just for these people, for the planet. So we need to engage much more people. Thank you so much.
I think Manuela said already a bit that we are even surprised by the quality of what we saw today. Not Professor Manuela Veloso, but who I'm surprised by the simplicity of the message, the way you explain. It's amazing. But speaking about the case studies and the companies that presented, it's amazing, above all, the openness of several of them for transformative work, to think really strategically about sustainability, for being so open to be challenged, to think endgame, to think from the feet in the future. And we saw really, it's quite amazing the quality of what we are seeing as presentations, as companies that are really working on transformative, doing transformations, working with innovation, etc. Thank you.
I don't really have much to add, just to say two things. First, thank you, Planeteers, for all the support and for this great partnership. Thank you also for our sponsors, so MBS, KPMG, CAFA, Perbar, Aquitex, and Soja de Portugal. And just let me to announce that next year we'll have a new, the fourth conference in the last week of October. And of course, you are all invited to be here with us. So thank you so much again.